What's going on, guys? Bel Air here. Talk. Point of view. The new frontman for this Angels roster with two-piece wavy memory as coach. It's basically last season's Shopify Rebellion minus a retired Reddles and plus an interesting player in Talk. And this is certainly the best opportunity that Talk has had in his young career. It's got me thinking a lot during this offseason about the NBA's been starting up, and that's been taking up a lot of my free time. And a lot of what it comes down to in the NBA with young players is just like opportunity and position. Whether or not your team actually needs you to do the thing that you do can kind of be the thing that ends up being how your career goes, at least early on. And it's weird to think about with this Shopify Rebellion team where I had put out a video a couple years back where it's like two-piece. Everybody wants him, and he's sticking at home with Parth and whomever the running mate was at that time. And, it just, the opportunity never really presented itself until very recently for him to make it to a major, just given how strong that middle piece of North America was. And then he finally gets over the hump for the World Championship after the LCQ when complexity fall apart. And is he just never going to be in a position to make it again? I don't know. It seems too early to like immediately be negative, but this team, this Angels roster with Talk and Wavy, it's two players who I'm very intrigued. I want to see more, but there's a lot of good teams in North America. I was just going over my top 20, and I have SSG outside the top 10, and I know that I'm lower on them than most, but, Angels is at best for me the sixth best team in North America, and they might even be a little bit lower. There's some fun little teams out there that I really like. But this gameplay is footage of them going up against the new Shopify Rebellion roster. Two pieces of ultimates with First Killer and LJ, plus Kofer from Space Station Gaming, and plus Violent Panda as coach over from Dignitas. And this is one of those teams that I'm lower on than most as well. Maybe I'm just low on North America right now. But I don't know. I did watch I haven't watched these replays just yet. I had watched the first one of this kind of scrimmage that we're watching here, and I watched LJ point of view, and I pretty quickly was like, God, LJ's just so good. And I've felt like the vibes are a little weird with this team. Seems like Violent Panda, First Killer, and Kofer are off vacationing. I'm pretty sure that Violent Panda's wife and First Killer's girlfriend, partner, I'm not sure where they're kind of at in their lives, but I know the two of them are quite close, which is a dynamic to start. And then now you have First Killer and Kofer putting out content together. Where is LJ? Surprised that him and First Killer stuck together. But we're shaking off the rust here, getting back into the videos. I haven't watched these replays yet, and I think this might be something that I try a little bit here to try and get some, initial views on some replays instead of watching a ton and then bringing you guys the best ones. Maybe we'll try and do this. But what do we want to talk about today? I think probably just North America and the landscape. It's huge that NRG, of course, win the World Championship. And we do this all the time where the World Champ is just like, okay, well, they're obviously the best, and they're probably going to be the front runners for next season. And then it always doesn't quite happen out that way. Think Vitality, think BDS. This NRG roster feels like it might be a little bit different just because the other top teams in the world all switched up their rosters. The Drali seismic shift in the RLCS really reverberated throughout the entire RLCS save NRG, it seems like, because Falcons are different, Carmine are different. Those are the two other obvious top three teams in the world. That's a great pass out by Talk there. And then the doink ahead. Look at this, huh? A lot of speed, great placement there to try and sneak that underneath, but the defense stands strong. And then Kofer tries to go wide Talk stretching for this, and then gets that doink there past LJ. That was a heck of a heads-up play there by Talk. But we've kind of seen all of Europe shift, and kind of it feels like dilute itself a little bit, even though I like the Stizzy pickup. But over in North America, it seems like NRG is going to kind of be running things the same way. I don't really see them being challenged domestically. I thought that Ultimates feel like they might be a little bit stronger than this Shopify roster. Maybe we'll see. First Killer is kind of the Joel Embiid of the RLCS, where no matter how talented he is, it's kind of hard to see him being a part of a roster that ends up lifting a trophy, even if he's the MVP in Joel's case. I like Kofor a lot. He was my favorite player on SSG. Thought he was the most interesting defensively. And maybe this team is just thinking, let's try and be more offensive. I just don't understand what the rotation is going to look like for this team. And then we have some other teams who are behind them. Of course, the new SSG roster I'm not super stoked about. I like what Jin G did, despite thinking Cheese was the best player on that roster. And for that new Foot roster, that's kind of my guilty pleasure team with Sosa, Frosty, and Cheese, 3 players that I'm probably higher on the most. So interested to see how North America shakes out. And then we have Angels, who are down there somewhere. I don't know. Were you guys super impressed by Shopify? I know they had a very, very lackluster World Championship, and I felt like Reynolds was their most consistent player during that event. And, I at least coming in, it's hard to think that Talk is the better player than Reynolds. So I think if this Angels team is going to make a lot of noise, it's going to be that we just haven't really seen enough film on Talk. We were unfamiliar with his game, and maybe there's an extra gear here for Wavy to hit, because he's still kind of a young player. Does feel weird that Two Piece is now like the veteran on this roster, given kind of how I guess lukewarm his career had been. Great player, maybe a good player, and we thought he might be a great player at one point in time. But I've always thought that his highest skill, his best skill, was his ability to facilitate. And Wavy, I think, is a very, very smart player. Talk has a very deep bag on the ball, very fast player. So maybe there's a mixture here in a couple of the different gears that they have that make a bit of sense. And Kofor coming off the sidewall here. Two Piece is going to cut that one out. I really haven't been paying a lot of attention to this footage just yet. And I think I want to watch 3 games just to get a feel for this here. LJ with a great touch. Talking to get that out of the way. I was watching the other day the new M80 roster with that's some funky defending. That Mech Devo Eris team. And definitely felt like Mech was the standout. I like Devo, but maybe I need to watch more because I don't know. I think he gets a little ahead of his skis, not to make another NBA reference, but that's where my mentality has been quite a bit this offseason, like I said. But there's young players where you can kind of see them get sped up in a way that kind of hurts them. Like it's kind of been the rub on a player like Jalen Green, who's now over in Phoenix after leaving Houston, where it's like he can get to the rim so fast, but then once he gets to the rim, it's kind of he can kind of be out of control because he's going so fast and he has to take that step to beat the defender. Kind of where does he go from there? I felt the same way with Devo, where it's like, man, you're super quick, but sometimes you kind of can play yourself out of the flow of the game with how fast you're trying to go. And that was a great save there, but this Angels team is in a lot of trouble here right now. They're staying alive. Low boost for Talk, who's out of the play. Two Piece and Wavy both in the same spot. Wavy trying to kill this out, and that's probably a goal, isn't it? Yeah. Look at this. First Killer, I think, is going to take a slow play here, take that momentum away from Wavy, and now he really only has one option, which is to push that, and First Killer just goes for the bump. That's some great pressure there from Shopify Rebellion. First Killer doing First Killer things. Look at those shot totals, huh? 15 to 5. Not great. Let's see if in the next game we can see a little bit more of a consistent offense here from Angels. Lock in a little bit on what they're trying to do here, momentum-wise. Wavy point of view, I love when rosters do this. It's my favorite. I brought this up before, and I know a lot of people had commented it, but the actual name of it escapes me. There's a role in volleyball where like a single player who's like not allowed to do something. I can't recall exactly, but I know after I finish recording this, I'll go back and find it. But where one player wears a different jersey. It's kind of like how in soccer or football where the goalie has on a different kit. I love when a team runs two that are the same, like we're seeing from Talkin' Wavy here, and then they have two-piece and kind of the off his own kind of kit. This is my favorite kind of structure for a team aesthetically. But Wavy trying to wave dash back into the play here. LJ loves to do this. Stick close to the ball. That one's going to get taken off his hood. And, wow, that's a lot of faith. I guess this one's just going to roll in. What's the disconnect here? It looks like Wavy is out of boost, so he's like, hey, two-piece, you got to go for this. But it looks like two-piece might have got bumped, and they just didn't calm that. Can we see this from two-piece point of view real quick? I'm almost certain that LJ is going to get him on this back wall here. Great heads-up play, yeah, by LJ there. And then, you know, you kind of got to calm that a little earlier. I don't know. Tough spot there. Wavy's here, yep. Great kickoff. Look at the standard boost here. I don't know. Am I too high or too low, rather, on Shopify Rebellion? I have them probably below 3 or 4 European teams. And certainly our two-headed dragon from Mina. I think I might have them below Furia as well. I don't know. I probably would have Shopify above Furia, but it's tough. It seemed like, wow. This is a great play. Talk sends it center. LJ with a great bump there, but First Killer and Kofor both just stuck in their own net. But I don't know. It's just, you know, when I was doing my top 50, I thought that First Killer, I really looked at it before the World Championship and asked myself, is First Killer the best player in North America? And talent-wise, that could be the case, although I think it's still Daniel talent-wise. But then I just think that there's more to Rocket League than just the talent. And it's the same in the NBA. Like the Ja Morant situation, like his, you know, lack of leadership, his immaturity, whatever you want to call it, whether you think it's justified or not, his gripes with the team. You know, that has to factor into like how good of a player you are, where there's somebody like a Darius Garland who's just like less of a question mark and a headache, who's more available. That's where I value, you know, beast mode more than First Killer. Like, I like what he brings to the table as far as like how it seems like the team vibe kind of goes, and the structure that he can help with, and the leadership that he provides. I've never really felt that way about First Killer, and it seemed like, you know, he might kind of turn a corner. But then what I heard during the off season was that one of the main reasons among many that he decided to not go to Vitality was that he would not kind of be in control of the team, or however you want to try and phrase that. Like, of course, there's Zen, and then the leadership structure that they have there with their coaching and their management. First Killer wouldn't be able to like call the shots, as it were. And Shopify kind of gave him the proverbial keys to the car. We talked about how First Killer's partner and Violent Pandas are very close. Maybe there's a piece of it there where it's like, hey, we're all friendly. Like, you know, maybe First Killer can kind of structure this how he wants, do what he wants. And that gives me pause for sure, because I still think that Kofor is a young player. And I really feel odd that the Ultimates peaked so early and then kind of, you know, weren't able to get that back as the season went along, and LJ was like, I want to stick around here, because I felt like LJ was put in uncomfortable positions all season long. And the same goes with Chronic. The only time where I watched replays of them or footage of them, and they felt like they were super comfortable, was when they turned that corner during Birmingham, and then they never quite got that back. Although it is worth saying, we let our biases show. I have bias against First Killer, and I was a little unimpressed by LJ, and overall I think that Europe is better than North America. Those are some of my biases, so it is worth saying that they played the World Championships to a very, very tight 7-game series at the World Championships. So, who knows? Maybe it's a little, maybe I'm being a little ridiculous in thinking that they are so low and that they couldn't challenge NRG and perhaps be better than Ultimates were. And this Angels team finds itself stuck in defense once again. How's Wavy going to try and get out of this? It's a great cut past Kofor. LJ's going to take his possession here, and how are they going to kind of layer themselves? It's just a poor attempt by LJ. LJ loves to stick close to the ball all the time. Wow, that was a really close one by Kofor. I don't feel like I'm very good at this, like, shoutcasting, but there's some people who do this kind of content that I really expect. Like, there's this guy, T90, who does this for Age of Empires 2, and I've always respected that it's just like all of the content is just going to be me watching Age of Empires 2 gameplay and breaking it down. I don't know that I'll ever do like the shoutcasting, like, there's a lot of professionals that you can go to for that. How does this one fall apart in overtime? Quick one here. Is it a botched kickoff or a really solid kickoff? Yeah, kind of a poor angle there from Wavy. And that one's just going to sneak in. What does this look like on the backside? 2P's going to pull off. Rotates up, and then he just is completely shaded by LJ. He doesn't even see him coming, it looks like. And this is the classic, right? Watch, he rotates upfield as opposed to the more, passive and conservative rotate back. If he would have rotated back instead of forward, probably would have got to that one there. But hindsight's always 20/20. The shot total has not changed too much. Look at Kofor. 9 shots on him. 6, 7 to 12. 7 to 12, that's a lot closer than 15 to 5. The gap is closing. That was a really close game. Went to overtime, of course. Let's see what our final game's looking like here. 2Ps for our final game. I have been gone, so if you're this deep in, maybe you care about what I've been, kind of up to and thinking about. Before I left, I was thinking a lot about and talked about in some of my videos, like this idea of like the channel and my content overall. And I don't know. I think I got into this headspace where like I was watching this kind of this sort of wave, this idea, this concept of YouTube, where it's like, how to take it more seriously and grow your channel, and like thumbnail design, and like how to structure your videos, and if you want this to go well, like, is it a hobby or is it something that you take seriously? And while I do think that there's like value to that, the thing about advice, at least that I've learned over the course of my life, is that there's advice for everything. Wow, that's a great shot. Does he rotate onto this? Like, how does LJ even pops up to that? I mean, what a touch. That is just beautiful from LJ. God. Oh, he lands right on the 100. That's perfect. God, that is a lovely shot. Let me get back to where we were here. But, this idea of like, you want to take it serious? And I was like, yeah, I want to take it serious, So, I don't know. I think I just like was like, okay, what I need to do is take a step back and like structure everything really hard instead of just like getting on here and having fun. But there's this concept of like cognitive overload where we feel like everything needs to be like as productive as possible, and there's so much to think about daily. With like whatever, pick your poison, news, politics, entertainment, what have you, on top of other interests and hobbies that I have. And I don't know, you get so inundated, and then you think like, oh, but my entire focus has to be on this one thing. And when that's not the case, it's very easy to like psych yourself out. And there's this Viktor Frankl quote that I really like from Man's Search for Meaning, which is a great book if that's kind of your cup of tea, by the way. where essentially what he's saying is like, um, well, two pieces way out of the play right now. There we go. You can't essentially, like, I'm paraphrasing, but you can't force success. You can't pursue success. It has to ensue. Like, success is the result of doing something that is exciting and fulfilling over the course of time, and then kind of a residual side effect could potentially be success, but you can't like that can't be the driving force. And I do think that, like, if I'm being honest with myself, it was kind of like the driving force is like for years now. It's kind of been like over the course of since I started this channel, it's like I want this to be my job. I'm working full time, but eventually, like, eventually this is going to be my full time job. So I need to take this like super super seriously. And maybe it's not that. Maybe the mistake that I've made is trying to think about um, happiness and purpose or fulfillment as one and the same. Like, the job needs to be both of those things. And maybe the job is the purpose, pays the bills, and I enjoy what I do. I get to do some programming. I have a Rocket League program that I'm running at work. And then maybe the happiness comes from just like this being a side deal. So putting those two things, having too much pressure on both of those, is something that I just needed to like step away from and think about Rocket League basically none at all, because it got to this point where like there were a couple of projects I was working on with some people I really care about, and I felt like the content was really good, but I was just like dreading it, like the idea of like having to like, okay, I like have to get this done, and it like started being like this very like frustrating pressurized thing where it's like, oh my god, I gotta do this. And then when I wouldn't do that because I was just like, tired from work all day, which is an excuse in and of itself in some ways, but there is some um, truth to that. But anyways, I was just like, you know what, like, I can't keep doing this dance of like, okay, today I have to do it, and then when I wouldn't do it, I'd be very frustrated. All right, well, today I have to do it, and then I wouldn't do it, and I'd be very upset. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do no Rocket League for 3 weeks, and I just did something the other day with two creators I really care about, and I'm excited for that to come out. And I just I'm gonna ease back into it slowly, I think. But that's kind of what's been cracking, and you know, maybe there's some success in this eventually. Um, I've been doing this for what, 4 years now, talking about the RLCS, and the reason I started doing it is because I like needed a creative outlet. Um, because I had just like got into a a car accident, and I couldn't play basketball anymore, and I had known about this game, but I started really getting into it to kind of scratch that creative itch. And I just loved it so much when I found the RLCS that I was like, I just couldn't stop thinking about it and wanting to talk about it and learn more about it. Um, so, it's easy to look back and be like, oh, it's not as successful as I want it to be. But, when you actually think about it, like take a step back and think about all the stages it took to get here. I used to be like absolutely blown away when a video would get like, 100 views. Um, and I put out a lot of content, and I still do love the RLCS. I never struggle with my enjoyment of the RLCS. Like, that is just like inherent. That in the NBA, I just love so much. It's the content piece that continues to be um, a growing opportunity, that I'm trying to be more honest with myself about. So, how was that for 3 games of telling myself I was going to lock into the gameplay? We'll find that eventually. But guys, I guess now it's time for the outro. Thanks for taking time out of your day. I really do appreciate that. Like, there's only 24 for all of us, and you potentially just gave me 20-ish minutes of your day to watch this. So that is really cool. But yeah, as always, guys, until next time, and take it easy.